Made from God's image and known for their fall from grace and banishment from the Garden of Eden. The story of Adam and Eve has been around since the dawn of time. With that comes the assumption that the pair were the first humans to walk the earth, and that all of us are ultimately able to trace our roots back to the pair. But is this true? Over the last 1,000 years, different accounts and new archaeological discoveries have offered alternate suggestions as to who really was here first. From an infamous succubus to a shepherd king, today we're exploring who really was the first human on Earth. Ready? Let's travel back. We all know the Adam and Eve story, but what if I told you that Eve wasn't Adam's first wife? Well, according to a medieval Jewish text called the Alphabet of Ben Sira, before Eve, Adam was married to a woman named Lilith. The origins of Lilith is unknown to scholars, but many think she was a character influenced by Mesopotamian or Sumerian beliefs about succubi, known as Lilu, which are basically female vampires. Despite being mentioned 4 times in the Babylonian Talmud, Lilith isn't connected to the original story of creation until a Jewish text called the Alphabet of Ben Sira surfaced. The text identifies Lilith as Adam's first wife and gives a detailed narrative of her life, depicting how Lilith was made from the same dust as Adam, which made Lilith see them both as equals. However, as time passes, Adam tries and fails many times to make his wife submit to him, and when Adam insisted that she carried out her wifely responsibilities, Lilith would refuse to lie beneath Adam, arguing that she didn't need to do that, as we're both equals. As the conflict escalated, Lilith decided she was done listening to instructions and headed to the Red Sea, leaving the Garden of Eden and her husband behind. When God found out about this, he was enraged and immediately dispatched 3 angels to pursue her and forcibly bring her back. However, when the angels discovered her at the Red Sea, they were unable to persuade her to go back, as she had already renounced God and embraced her demonic form, transforming into a succubus, a monster of the night that preys on children and tempts innocent men. The passage reads, "The 3 angels caught up with her in the sea. They seized her and told her, 'If you agree to come with us, come, and if not, we shall drown you in the sea.' She answered,
'Darlings, I know that God created me only to afflict babies with fatal disease when they are 8 days old. I shall have permission to harm them from birth to the 8th day, and no longer when it is a male baby. But when it's a female baby, I shall have permission for 12 days.
The angels would not leave her alone until she swore by God's name that wherever she would see them or their names in an amulet, she would not possess the baby. They then left her immediately. This is the story of Lilith, who afflicts babies with disease. After Lilith fled the garden, Adam was mourning, and seeing his sadness, God decided to create Eve. And instead of creating her from the same dust as Adam, God created her from Adam's rib, hoping this time his female creation would do better. And, well, we all know how that story went. As it stands, today Lilith is seen more as a feminist icon than a child-killing succubus. And if we follow the Jewish text, it is clear that Adam and Eve certainly weren't the first humans on Earth. But why was it left out of the Bible and other corroborated texts? Was it an attempt to erase the she-demon from history? Or was it completely made up? Despite that, Lilith isn't the only objection to the norm. In fact, it's argued that another couple, quite similar to Adam and Eve, walked the earth way earlier than the biblical couple, specifically 500 years earlier. In ancient Sumerian text, the goddess of love, fertility, and war, Inanna was brought to the earth with the sole purpose of caring for a tree planted by the banks of the Euphrates River, called the Hulapu tree, in hopes of creating a wooden chair. Inanna spent years tending to the tree, watching the earth surrounding it flourish into a great garden. Soon after, a shepherd by the name of Dumasid appeared in the garden, and both he and Inanna fell in love and were eventually married. However, while Inanna was preoccupied with a relationship with her husband, she neglected the tree, and because of that, a cunning snake built a nest in this tree, making the tree impossible to cut down. And funny enough, the snake's name was Lilith. And if you're wondering how the story ends, after Inanna passes away, she learns that Dumasid hadn't mourned her death as she would have wanted, and drags him to the underworld. Later, regretting her decision, she decided that Dumasid will spend half the year in the underworld, and the other half back with the living. With similar traits to the creation story we all know, many argue that Inanna and Dumasid were truly the first to walk the earth, and that 500 years after their life and love were documented, the story of Adam and Eve was copied from them and passed off as the true account. But could they all be wrong? Well, archaeologists have discovered many cities that were already in existence around 4000 BC. Many of the incredible towns that flourished in Mesopotamia, in the general vicinity of where the Garden of Eden is believed to be, can still be seen today, providing proof of an ancient civilization that existed before Adam and Eve. One example is Turkey's Çatalhöyük, that was erected between the years 5200 and 7400 BC. After 60 years of excavating, only 5% of the city's 37 acres has been uncovered, due to how large and densely populated it is. Another city, the biblical city of Jericho in Palestine, was founded in 10,000 BC and existed around 6,000 years before Adam. In that location, archaeologists have discovered the remnants of more than 20 separate towns. The remnants of abandoned structures and under the floorboards of residences have both revealed the bodies of the deceased. Numerous fossils, most of which are referred to as hominids, and some of which date back several millions of years, have been discovered by archaeologists that resemble modern humans, proving that people lived on Earth before Adam. These migrations would have lasted far longer than a few thousand years, because people were reluctant to relocate unless it was necessary to escape a dangerous environment or an enemy, and because they must make changes to virtually unfathomable dangers, like traversing frozen land bridges and oceans. Previously, scientists had to piece together the distant past of humanity exclusively from ancient sites, human bones, and artifacts. But today, DNA and RNA are potent new methods for reading our ancestors' genetic codes. By sequencing and computer analyzing the DNA of thousands of skeletons from people who lived between 6,000 and 12,000 years ago, it has been proven that humans traveled the globe before Adam and Eve. But with that said, there is an argument that the first humans on Earth were not even human. Well, there have been rumors that life started on Mars, but that might not be so far-fetched anymore, as some scientists believe in panspermia, which is the concept that life originated elsewhere in the cosmos and was brought to Earth on meteoroids and other cosmic objects. The origin might be close by, like Mars, or it may be light years away, but it certainly didn't come from Earth. Svante Arrhenius, a Swedish scientist who is credited with developing the panspermia theory, believes that a meteorite delivered life to Earth. He claimed that the biological creatures like bacterial spores and viruses are driven through space by the feeble pressure of starlight and are ejected from planets by electrical forces. Such organisms connect to space dust, which increases their mass and enables them to descend toward the nearest star under the influence of gravity, where they may be grabbed by the planet of that star, Earth. So the question we have to ask now is, are we aliens? That's a question for another time. Of course, this doesn't solve the answer of who was the first human on Earth, but to question whether humans have lived across different solar systems is certainly interesting. And worlds apart from our roots, back in the Garden of Eden.